two cops thought they were arresting just another old black man for loitering, but when they checked his name, their faces turned white, because the man they cuffed was the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Moments like this prove justice never dies, it just waits to be seen. Comment where you're watching from, and if you believe in justice over power, hit like and subscribe for more true justice stories. At the precinct, the fluorescent lights buzzed quietly, a sharp contrast to the calm dignity that followed the old man into the room. The officers led him inside, still convinced they'd done their job right. The older one filled out the report while the younger sat at the computer, typing in the man's information. Name, Benjamin Lewis. He hit enter. The system paused, then flashed a result neither of them could have expected. Benjamin Lewis, former Chief Justice, United States Supreme Court. The younger cop froze. Sir, he stammered, eyes darting toward his partner. The senior officer frowned. What now? Look, he turned the screen. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the senior cop's voice cracked slightly. This can't be right. The old man, still seated calmly in the corner, spoke without looking up. It's right. The room suddenly felt smaller. Every sound, the hum of the air conditioner, the ticking of the wall clock, grew louder. The sergeant on duty stepped out of his office, curious. What's going on? The younger officer swallowed hard. We just brought in the former Chief Justice. The sergeant blinked, thinking it was a joke. You what? Loitering, the officer whispered, as if the word itself was a confession. The sergeant's face drained of color. Release him. Now. The cuffs came off quickly, but the weight of shame didn't. Both officers stood speechless as the old man rubbed his wrists, leaving faint red marks where the metal had bitten into his skin. He looked at them, not with anger, but with quiet disappointment. You judged me before you even saw me, he said. That's the oldest mistake in the book. Neither officer could meet his eyes. As he turned to leave, the younger one finally found the courage to speak. Sir, we didn't know. Benjamin Lewis stopped by the door, looked back, and said softly. That's the problem. You never do, until it's too late. He walked out of the station into the same cold night, free, but not unscarred. Behind him, the officer stood still, the reflection of his legacy burning on the computer screen. Former Chief Justice, defender of civil rights. For the first time in their careers, both men understood what justice truly looked like and how small their badges suddenly felt. The night air outside the precinct was colder than before, crisp, quiet, and almost symbolic. The world had gone still, as if waiting to see what the old man would say next. Benjamin Lewis walked out slowly, each step deliberate. Behind him, the two officers followed, still shaken. The sergeant had ordered them to apologize, but no one had the words. The older cop finally spoke, voice trembling. Sir, we didn't recognize you. Benjamin turned slightly, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. You shouldn't need to recognize a man to respect him, he said softly. Justice doesn't depend on titles, it depends on decency. The younger officer looked down, shame written across his face. We were just doing our job. Benjamin took a slow breath. That's what every man says before history remembers him for doing wrong. A silence followed, heavy, necessary. A few reporters had arrived outside, tipped off by the girl's video from the park. Microphones pointed toward him, cameras flashing. Justice Lewis. Do you plan to file charges? One shouted. He smiled faintly. No. The world doesn't need another case, it needs a lesson. He stepped closer to the cameras. Tonight, I wasn't arrested because I broke a law. I was arrested because I looked like someone who could. The crowd went silent. Even the cops behind him froze. That, he continued, is what injustice looks like when it wears a uniform. And until we learn to see each other as people, not profiles, justice will always be temporary. The reporters lowered their cameras slowly. The words hung in the cold air like truth carved in stone. Benjamin placed his hat back on his head, adjusted his coat, and looked back at the officers one last time. "Remember this night," he said quietly. "Because one day, you'll wear the same face I do, the face of a man judged before he's understood." Then he walked away into the darkness, not as a victim, but as a reminder. The same park bench waited for him in the distance, under the same streetlight. He sat down again, opened his newspaper, and began to read, as if nothing had happened. But everything had. Because sometimes, justice doesn't need a courtroom. It just needs to be witnessed. Studio microphone moments like this remind us, justice isn't just a courtroom word. It's the courage to see beyond color, uniform, or pride, and choose what's right, even when no one's watching. The camera pans out, the same bench, same man, same world, but everything feels changed. Studio microphone, so before you scroll away, drop your city or country name in the comments. I want to see how far this message travels. Because no matter where you are, stories like this belong to all of us. His newspaper folds shut. A faint wind carries the sound of traffic, life moves on, but the message lingers. Studio microphone, and if you believe in justice over power, and respect over fear, then hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. Because this channel stands for one thing above all. Studio microphone, stories that speak truth to power.